All right, so one last example. The head scratcher, I'll say, is proportions. And so proportions, that's how you spell it for your notes. Proportions. I'm going to zoom out. It's already zoomed out. Well, fine. I'll move you up then. Okay. So proportions. So think of a proportion as a portion of something. So think of a bowl of soup. A bowl of soup is, or a big jug of soup, and you go take a portion out of it and pour it into your bowl. You just got a portion of it. So a part, a piece, again, a fraction of proportions. We're just using it, just another way of looking at doing this math. And so what is 20% of 40? At the top I wrote basically how to create a proportion with percentages. And so if you know that, well, we know the percent, okay? The percent is always over 100. So I can rewrite this. I can say, the percent is 20, right? 20% over 100. Let's just erase that. We're good. That still means the same thing, right? 20 over 100 is 20%. Okay. And then we have a part over a total. Now we know the total is 40, so we're going to put that over the at the bottom. And then what we're trying to figure out is what part represents 20% of 40. So we're just gonna call this. We can say X. If you feel more comfortable not using letters, that's okay. We can use a question mark. Heck, you could even use a smiley face, and it wouldn't matter. It's just a symbol representing what you don't know. And we don't know the part. We want to know that part. And so it's called cross multiplication is the method that you use. And it's called cross multiplication because when you do this and that, creates a crossing of the multiplication. And so it's saying literally 40 times 20. 40 times 20 is equal to, well, 100 times something we don't know what it is. We're looking for 20% of 40. We don't know what it is. So this is saying 20% of that 40. So let's figure it out. 40 times 20 is what? Well, 40 times 20 is 800. And I can do that up here for you real quick. 40 times 20. Lining up my place values. 0 times 0 is 0. 0 times 0, 0. 0 times 4 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. And 2 times 4 is 8. Remember, we have a ghost 0 there. And if we were to add these up, we would get 800. Okay, we get 800, and that's what we have over here. So I'm gonna get rid of this. Okay, and so what do we have left? Well, we have 100 times question mark. I do have a quick little snippet to add in here too. You could actually write it like this: 100 in parentheses next to a question mark. That's the same thing as saying 100 times a question mark. Once you get into 7th grade in algebra, you're going to need to know that those parentheses mean that you multiply this times that if it's right up against that parentheses. But for now, we'll leave that alone. Now this is algebra. Believe it or not, this is algebra. You've been doing algebra since you were very young, and I'll show you how. First example will be like this. looks familiar, doesn't it? What times 2 equals 5? Well, we know that right there is 3, just because we know 2 plus 3 is 5, right? Simple. Well, let's look at another example with multiplication. If I know this is 6 over here, this is just as an example, okay? I'm going to go back to this in a second. We know that 2 times a question mark, right? 2 times something is equal to 6. We know that's 3, right? But the real mathematical way to solve this is not with just logic. Yes, that's great. But if you know algebra, you can take bigger numbers and make them a lot easier to deal with. So this is an equation. That means this side is equal to this side. And it has to stay that way. Now I want to find out what that question mark is. So I have to get it by itself. So to do that, I have multiplication here, right? How do I undo multiplication? What's the opposite of multiplication? It's division. 2 divided by 2 becomes a 1. 1 times anything is still the same thing. So that cancels itself out. We don't need it anymore. But if we want to keep both sides of the equation equal, we had to divide this side by 2 as well. And what is 6 divided by 2? 2 goes into 6 3 times, doesn't it? So you could say x is equal to 3. I'm sorry. Question mark is equal to 3. Because 3 times 2 equals 6. That is your introduction to a little bit of algebra. So real quick, and I do mean quick, how do we undo multiplication so that we can get the question mark by itself? We divide, and we divide by 100. Well, if I do it to this side, I got to do it to that side, so 800 divided by 100. I can cancel these zeros out because, well, I divide this top number by 100. I did not divide that bottom number by 100. And I get what I have here, 8 over 1, which is the same thing as saying 8 is equal to that question mark. We got the same answer. We just used proportional reasoning to figure out what that percentage is. That's how you use proportions to figure out your part.